Hello and welcome to Me and You and Nancy Drew, a podcast where I, Colleen,
and I, Megan,
usually go through the different items in the Nancy Drew universe, the books, the shows, the PC games. However, today is a special episode. I do not know pretty much anything that's about to happen. Megan, what are we doing today?
I know more about what's going to happen, but do we ever truly know what's going to happen? So today I am going to do a history lesson on the history of Nancy Drew and how she came to be and all of the major players that kind of brought her to life over the years. There's some things that I did more research on than others, so a lot of it will be pretty focused on the early years of publishing and things like that, but I did do an overview of just the entire Nancy Drew universe, really.
I am very excited because I don't know a whole heck of a lot about the history of Nancy Drew. I just have been a fan for a while, but not as long as she's been around, obviously. And you're also great at deep dives.
Oh, gosh, I just love it. I almost made this into a PowerPoint, but I thought that might be a little difficult for an auditory-based medium. So you're just going to have to, if you're a visual learner, this is going to be a little harder, and that's okay. Because I get it, because me too. On the Patreon, you may or may not find some of the supplemental things that I describe in addition to a hand-drawn timeline of everything that I've talked about. We'll see if I actually
I love your hand-drawn visual aids.
I love my hand-drawn visual aids as well. And since I'm no longer a teacher, this is how I get my kicks. No.
I was going to say, you're definitely still educated.
Yes, I definitely am still in education, but just not in the, classroom teacher role. And I miss doing history lessons. I think I'm just going to dive in and just see where we go with this. I don't really have set structure other than starting at the beginning. So
it's a pretty good place to start.
It is. I knew you were going to make that joke. I thought about this while I was getting set up, and I was like, I guess I'll just say we're going to start at the beginning. And I was like, I bet Colleen will say.
In my defense, I was in the Sound of Music. So
okay. So we're going to start with Edward Stratemeyer. And I think I'm saying his name correctly because I watched an interview with his daughter. But I thought it was Stratemeyer, Stratemeyer. So in my head, I was saying Stratemeyer, but I believe it's actually Stratemeyer. Sure. So Edward Stratemeyer, 1862 to 1930, was an American author. But he did things a little differently than a lot of the other authors at his time. One, he saw that there was a huge need for literature for children, especially those middle grade readers. What he found, though, was that writing under his own name, he sold less books. So he started ghostwriting different series, and he founded the Stratemeyer Syndicate, which ran from 1899 to 1987. So
that's a long time.
Yeah, almost 90 years. So
oh my God.
The Stratemeyer Syndicate wrote a bunch of different book series. The first series was The Rover Boys, which was written by Edward Stratemeyer under the name...
I'm assuming they're on Mars, roving around?
No, I don't think so. Oh. I think it's just their last name. I didn't look very closely at that one, of course. I knew it. I looked at the other ones, but he wrote this one under the pen name Arthur M. Winfield, and it started selling a lot better. So he formed the Stratemeyer Syndicate in 1905. And first he was writing the stories himself, but he realized he wasn't getting them out as fast as people were desiring them, and he was expanding too far, so he started hiring authors to write stories based on his ideas that he would outline.
So I have a question already. It wasn't like he needed to write under a female pen name because he was writing books about girls, because he was writing about the Rover Boys. Is there a reason he needed a pen name?
It was really just that the book sold better under different pen names. So he said, a book brought out under another name would, I feel satisfied, do better than another Stratemeyer book. If this was brought out under my own name, the trade on new Stratemeyer books would simply be cut into 4 parts instead of 3.
Interesting. So kind of the opposite of what James Patterson does, where he doesn't write his own stuff.
Yes.
But he just takes credit anyway.
Yes. And it's all under the syndicate. So he's still the one making the money, but the books were selling better with these ghostwriter names instead of just like you said, oh God, another James Patterson book.
Right.
And that way he could also be publishing multiple series simultaneously.
There you go.
These are all different authors, but they're not. Well, I mean, they are, because that's what ended up happening. He could no longer write multiple volumes of multiple series, so he began hiring ghostwriters. So there were some books that he did continue to write, while others he just did the outlines and gave those to the ghostwriters. And I think I do have The contract, yes. So in the contract, the authors would receive a flat rate of $125 to $250.
That feels like a lot back then.
Yes, equal to 3 months' pay for a reporter.
Holy crap. And this is for one book?
Yes. Yeah, for each book.
Oh, my God.
Though we will get back to that because those numbers did change later. So you also would sign away your right to the text and any claim to the pseudonym. So they were allowed to reveal that they wrote for the syndicate, but couldn't, under their contract, state which of the books they wrote, just to keep it all mysterious. And there's still some Nancy Drew books, actually it's the later ones, that we don't know who the author actually is.
Why do we know the earlier ones and not the later? You would think the record would have been better kept.
I think it's just like records changing, but also there was a court case. And so some things had to be revealed. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Here are the full unabridged writing guidelines. All books would be part of a series. The first several volumes would be published all at once, and these first volumes are often called the breeders. I remember
we've seen that.
We've seen that. This is the breeder books. So the first 3 Nancy Drew books were released all at once. The books would be written under a pseudonym. This would provide apparent continuity of authorship even when an author died, and would disguise the fact that the series were written by multiple ghostwriters and plot outliners. What you'll end up hearing is that a lot of the books had multiple people involved in the creation of each one. The books would be of a predictable length, and it was within the contract or within the expectations that chapters should end mid-situation to increase the reader's desire to keep reading.
That.
We know this.
Oh my God.
This was definitely not just purposeful, but required.
Oh, dang. Okay. Because it makes sense. Because we've talked about, I've seen that in the Hardy Boys, I've seen that in Nancy Drew, but it's like, all the stuff in the syndicate, that's how it's going to be. We've got a formula. And I also like it's got to be about the same length, because if you are like, I'm sitting down with a new Nancy Drew, like it usually takes me, if I'm taking notes, longer, but like if I'm not taking notes, hour and a half, and then I sit down to the next one and it's 4 hours, I'm like, well, hold on, this feels weird.
The goal was to get people to like read these every time they came out, so it's a fast read because there's a lot of them. Yes. And then certain tropes and narrative elements were disallowed. Leslie McFarlane, for example, was required to revise 2 of his Hardy Boys characters, Chief Colleague and Deputy Smuff, because their portrayal as incompetent police officers, quote, fostered a disrespect for authority, unquote.
Oh my God.
Yep. Characters also could not age or marry because in his early series, such as the Rover Boys, Tom Swift, and Ruth Fielding, the characters grew up and married and the sales dropped afterwards. So he added this rule that the characters had to kind of stay the same so that the sales would stay up.
Helen can marry because she's not a main character, I assume?
Exactly. Yes. Well, and also they were trying to figure out a reason. Yeah, because she didn't get married in the original series. She just disappeared. They wrote that into the new series to explain why she disappeared. Well, not the new series, but the updated series.
Okay. Yeah, I guess if Nancy got married, I would assume there was less crime solving happening.
Yeah, right? And then people just didn't want to read about those things. They had a very exact expectation. So
I got married and doesn't solve crimes at home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some other series of his, so besides Nancy Drew, the Hardy Boys, the Bobbsey twins, which is 2 sets of fraternal twins, and Tom Swift.
I know there's Tom Swifties, which is like a genre of joke.
No, but Tom Swift is like an adventure sci-fi book series. And I just thought this was really funny because I didn't read deep into this, just like cursory Wikipedia skimming. Most of my information, by the way, is from Wikipedia. I did check to see what the sources were, but a lot of them are published books that are behind paywalls or within specific college libraries. So I wasn't able to access the places that we're getting this information from. So thanks, Wikipedia, for making information free for all. So Tom Swift is the main character of 6 series of American juvenile sci-fi and adventure novels that emphasize science, invention, and technology, starting in 1910. And
what's
so
the
first
sci-fi element?
So sometimes he like goes to Mars and space. Like only the later series.
So I said that earlier as a gaff. as a
Yes,
goof.
but like, no, Tom Swift is the one, not the Rover Boys.
Interesting.
Lots of ghostwriters. The books are credited under the collective pseudonym Victor Appleton.
Oh,
And what I really
what a
like,
fancy
so
lad.
they had multiple versions of this series. First original run of the series was 1910 to 1941. Then another one from 1954 to 1971, 1981 to 1984, 91 to 93, 06 to 07, and 2019 to 2022.
Dang. What?
The original, yes. So
That's
the original,
free.
yeah, I know. This is like the last few years. You're a librarian. Where are the Tom Swift books?
Not on my shelf for some reason. Dang. Okay. Okay, tell me more.
The original series is about Tom Swift, and it is written by, quote unquote, Victor Appleton. When they did the second series in 1954, they made it Tom Swift Jr., who is the son of the first Tom Swift. And instead of being written by Victor Appleton, they're written by Victor Appleton II.
Oh my gosh. That's really funny.
I just wanted to share that. Yeah, isn't it? So, a little brief aside about Tom Swift.
That's really cute.
This is also a study in 1922 found that an, quote, overwhelming majority of children's books read in the U.S. in that time period were by the Stratemeyer Syndicate.
Sure. It was clearly filling a want in the public of,
Exactly.
I want this thing where if I pick it up, it's okay if I didn't read it in order, probably. I'm assuming. I don't know if that's true for all the series, but I can read it in order, and a new one's going to come out pretty soon, and it's going to be about the same contents, but just a different adventure of these characters I already know and have an attachment to. Like, It sounds like wasn't being filled by another group or
and
another
it's
writer or anything.
definitely, very clearly, it was a winning strategy. So, just on a personal life note for Edward Stratemeyer, he had 2 daughters, Harriet Stratemeyer Adams and Edna Stratemeyer Squire was her married name. Squire. I'd say that's Squire. Yeah.
Squire.
Harriet Stratemeyer Adams.
Yeah, I feel I've heard that name.
About. You have. You definitely have. In 1930, when Harriet Stratemeyer Adams was 38, her father died. So Edward Stratemeyer died, and the syndicate was inherited by both daughters who were supposed to sell it. They attempted to sell it, but it was the Great Depression because it was 1930. So instead, they decided to just continue his work. Eventually, Harriet's sister Edna sold her share to her sis, and they together, but then mostly just Harriet, introduced new series, The Dana Girls, Tom Swift Jr., and The Happy Hollisters. So, before I get too much further into the history, we got to introduce another player. So we've had Edward Stratemeyer, we've had his daughter Harriet.
Is it Mildred Wirt Benson?
It is indeed Mildred Augustine Wirt Benson.
Before she got married, her initials were Maw? Like the gaping maw?
Nope. She was married twice. Her maiden name is Augustine. Mildred Augustine is her maiden name. So when she was Mildred Wirt, married to her first husband, first of all, she is so cool.
Okay, great.
In the late 1920s, she applied for a position at the Stratemeyer Syndicate. According to her, she only met with Edward Stratemeyer just the once. And after that, all of their correspondence was over mail in writing.
Including like sending in manuscripts?
Yes.
Holy crap. That's probably your only copy.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's so stressful.
Yep. So she said after her initial meeting, she never saw him again and only corresponded through writing. He would send her an outline and she would write the story. And this was for some of his other series first. In 1929, he specifically conceived of a series for Mildred to write.
Oh, so she wrote other stuff before Nancy?
Yes, she wrote other stuff for him before Nancy as one of his ghostwriters on some of his other series for the Syndicate. And she also was a prolific writer of her own. I do want to go back to before she joined the Syndicate because she's so cool.
Okay.
She went to the University of Iowa like 2 years after the suffragette movement and when they allowed co-ed.
Wait, that's
female
so
students
cool.
Into the University of Iowa.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was the first woman to graduate from the University of Iowa's journalism program and the first person at all to graduate from University of Iowa with a graduate degree in journalism.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's so cool.
She was a swimmer and a champion diver off of diving boards.
Is that where this keeps coming up for Nancy?
I think so.
Right, and what you know? Oh my
exactly.
gosh.
And what she said is she didn't specifically like try to write Nancy as her.
Sure.
She
but you gotta add
wanted
some stuff
to write who she wished she was.
Oh,
a
Mildred.
woman that she wished she could be. And she was, very much a non-traditional of the time period, a non-traditional woman, like her mom pressed her to be more traditional. She was like, that's not me. And so she applied for the job at Stratemeyer Syndicate while she was still in grad school. And she's like, what are they going to do? I'm the only student in the graduate program.
Seriously.
But she got married. Her husband was really ill for a very long time and ended up passing away. And so while she was writing these original Nancy Drew books, she was writing them at her husband's bedside as he was dying over the years, and also raising their young daughter. Just some fun facts about her later life. Wirt was her first husband. Then later, she married again to George Benson, and so she ended up becoming Mildred Benson. But that's why I put her full name, Mildred Augustine Wirt Benson. After her second husband died, I think she was in her late 50s by this point, she became a licensed pilot with 6 different types of licenses. She would go,
crap!
Like, she's like, everyone else is like worrying about Social Security, but I have my pilot's license. And she would go to like Central America and go adventuring to go help find pre-Columbian Mayan ruins and like hack through the jungle with her machete.
Oh my God, what?
Right? I was like, Nancy Drew is real.
Apparently, the woman you wish you could be. It appears that you are doing all the things. Like, now I'm wondering, did all those artifacts maybe stay with the people? I don't know, but like,
but Nancy also, does have light fingers.
She does.
I might need this for later.
I might need this Mayan artifact that probably belongs to somebody else for later. But no, that's so cool. I was already on board like second marriage and kept the first husband's name because I assumed there was some deep love there. And then you were talking about all the degree stuff, and then it just kept getting cooler and cooler.
I know.
I also don't think of journalism as leading into fiction writing.
Right?
As a traditional pathway or whatever.
But yeah, so while she was writing the original Nancy Drew books, and I'm talking like the 1930s ones, she was also a full-time journalist and taking care of her husband and raising her young daughter.
Lord.
I need to find more information about this, but this was referenced in, I think it was a University of Iowa article. She was allegedly kidnapped.
I'm sorry?
In Central America, in Guatemala, and outsmarted her captors. And I was like, tell me more, please. And I have not been able to find more about this, which is why I just do say allegedly. I only found one source for that.
Was there chloroform?
Was there chloroform involved? But she seems like just like the coolest person ever.
Seriously.
And now, you might be saying, how do we know this if they signed a contract that they're not supposed to reveal which books that they wrote?
I was not saying that because I wasn't
that.
thinking. Okay. Because you also mentioned the lawsuit, so
Yeah. So she sought to make the heroine an unusually liberated woman of her time.
Let's go.
And she did say that she knew it would be popular, but she did not expect it to be the blockbuster it has been. So Edward Stratemeyer died after The Lilac Inn was published. So the first 4.
Because of the lilac.
Yes, the lilacs killed him. Which this is also just like a fun fact. In the terms of his will, all the ghostwriters of the syndicate received 1/5 of the royalties earned from each book series that they contributed to. So they got a little bit of extra money in his will, which is really nice.
That's awesome.
Benson briefly quit the series. So Mildred Wirt, because that was her name at the time, wrote books 1 through 7 of the original series, as well as 11 through 25 and 30. All but 7 of the original 30 books are written by Mildred Wirt. And so she did, like I said, briefly quit the series after 1 through 7 because of the Great Depression, and the syndicate was no longer paying the same rate. They were paying $75 a story instead of like $125 at
That's
the
a
base.
Huge slash.
Yes.
However, if it's the Depression, I would maybe keep the job I had, but it's not my business.
But
and
she did come back. She also contributed to Kay Tracy, which was another series, and the Dana Girls.
Like Dick Tracy's sister, or?
The books started getting published in 1930. In 1933, Macy's, the big department store.
Of the parade?
Of the parade, famously. They sold out of all of the Nancy Drew books that they had ordered for the Christmas season. This is how popular the series was.
And then Santa was there, and there was a miracle.
Yes.
On 34th Street.
We've touched on how the series was created, who helped create it, but each book had an outliner, a writer, and an editor.
And those
the
are
first few books, sometimes 3 separate people, sometimes, as we see later in the series, one single person doing all 3 of those roles. Kind of like a traditional author would outline their own book and go through and edit their own book and things like that. So the first few books before Edward Stratemeyer died, like the first 4 were outlined by him, written by Mildred Wirt Benson, and edited by him. Then he passed away, and so we see a lot more combinations of different people doing the different roles, and then Mildred Wirt Benson leaves. And so in 1950, Harriet Stratemeyer Adams, she began revising the series to make them more modern. I think they were planning on doing this already, but Grosset and Dunlap, the publishers, also wanted racial stereotypes removed, as they had gotten a lot of complaints, especially from Hardy Boys readers, about some of the racial stereotypes involved.
Sure.
Now, I will just make a quick note because I did see this in multiple spots. Apparently, Adams did not agree that the stereotypes needed to be removed, but did so anyway. But
you know what? We'll take it, I guess.
Yep. But as I think we stated this in like the very first episode. One thing that ended up happening was instead of removing the racial stereotypes, you just removed people of different races at all. And so
it's only white people now. So, hey, we're not. Well, that's not even true that they got rid of all of it, because there's still some stuff there that we've already talked about.
Definitely. Yes.
It's less racist because it's only white people now.
Exactly.
Cool. That's
we still get some
fascinating commentary and cultural appropriation. I got you.
Definitely still get some cultural appropriation. The first 34 books were written from 1930 to 1956. Around that time period, we started to see these original series edited and re-released from 1959 to 1975. Books 35 through 56 were written from 1957 to 1979. So really we're looking at the late 70s for this like original run of the series under Grosset and Dunlap, including the revision.
Okay.
1980 is where things start to get kind of crazy again. Not like crazy, but Grosset and Dunlap, according to the syndicate, was not doing a great job of advertising new book series, and sales were down. They were particularly upset because there was like no publicity for the Hardy Boys' 50th anniversary in 1977. And when they asked, they were like, hey, what are you planning for Nancy Drew's 50th anniversary? They kind of got like, ... Not
a whole heck of a lot. Yeah.
And so they really took that personally, and like understandably. Especially like Harriet Adams, like her entire life was about this.
Sure.
She decided.
But what if with the 50th anniversary it acknowledges that Nancy is not time? Well, I mean, she's not aging as a character, but like, what? She can't be 50 years old. She's barely 18.
Yeah, right. She just turned 18. Okay, guys.
She just turned 18 last week.
Like, we just updated her age. She was 16 and now she's 18. What more do you want from us? So Harriet Adams decided they were going to switch publishers from Grosset and Dunlap to Simon and Schuster.
I was going to say Simon and Schuster is more that I remember. Okay.
Yes. And so the switch happened in 1980. Well, that is when Chekhov's legal dispute ensued. And so Grosset and Dunlap sued Simon and Schuster and the syndicate for breach of contract, copyright infringement, and unfair competition.
Oh, no.
And so Harriet Adams filed a countersuit and stated that as the author, she being the author of Nancy Drew, she retained the rights to all of the work. Now, this is where it got sticky because
you're not supposed to say.
Write most of Nancy Drew after 1953.
Okay.
So she, after volume 53. And by this point, this is the 1980s, we're up to, 60 or 70.
Okay.
So, and then she had rewritten, she had, taken the helm on rewriting a lot of the earlier ones, but she was not the original author.
Oh, the issue is not even that she was not supposed to reveal it. The issue is that's not quite true, Harriet.
Exactly. So, Harriet Adams, it was... Yeah, you were very heavily involved in writing a bunch of these books, but you're not did not create this character.
Oh, yeah.
And so Grosset and Dunlap called Mildred Wirt Benson to the stand.
She's out of retirement. Come on
down.
Yeah,
so she was called to the stand in 1980. She hadn't written a Nancy Drew book since the 50s.
Oh, dang.
So it'd been a while. And her role as the earliest writer of Nancy Drew, and pretty much, she created the character of Nancy Drew. Edward Stratemeyer gave her the outline of the mystery, but she created the character.
Yeah, the plot and the character are not the same.
Exactly. So it was revealed in court that she was really considered the original author, and she had extensive documentation to back it up, as did Grosset and Dunlap as the original publishers.
Good.
And so, in the end, the court ruled that Grosset and Dunlap had the rights to the original series as they were still in print in 1980, but they did not own the characters or the trademarks. And new publishers were allowed to print new titles.
Oh, dang.
And so, which does to me feel like the fairest
I think so.
kind of ending to this is that,
like, listen, you did publish these. No one can take that away. However, people can still use this character.
yes, exactly. So, yes, Grosset and Dunlap did publish the original series, but the character doesn't belong to them. It does belong to the Stratemeyer Syndicate. It doesn't belong to Harriet Adams because although she was heavily involved in the creation of the later parts of the series, she was not the initial author. There also just does seem to be very vaguely on the internet, and I didn't look deeply into this, but I think there are a lot of opinions about the differences in Nancy as a character written by Mildred Wirt Benson versus the updated and different version by Harriet Stratemeyer Adams.
That's what we're reading.
Exactly. So we are reading the Harriet Stratemeyer Adams version of Nancy Drew. And there are a lot of Nancy Drew purists, I would say, who feel that the actual truest Nancy Drew is the one written by Mildred Wirt Benson in the 30s. So this makes me, one, I've only ever read the Harriet Stratemeyer Adams version.
I don't know that I think same.
And so this makes me really want to sit down.
Nancy, but
exactly,
now
me too.
I want to love her more.
Exactly. And so this is like, I remember us talking about this again in the very first episode, just like these vague little things that we knew, like, oh, apparently they aged her up. They changed her hair color. You know, she's not 16 anymore. She's 18. They did the same thing to the Hardy Boys. They aged them up a little bit as well. But they did make Nancy more respectful
of authority. I remember that being one of the things.
Yes. Because there were some criticisms at Mildred Wirt Benson at the time and in later years that, like,
was it just Nancy, because of how she, like, thinks of cops as useless, or because she doesn't? In these ones, she thinks of them as like, they are going to do what they're going to do, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and we'll work together.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about, like, the real detail of, like, those differences in Nancy, and it just makes me really want to sit down and read those original 1930s ones. So I vote that as one of our future episodes, which I think we were already on the same page, but this just made me want, like, when it comes to these kinds of debates, I want to experience all of it so that I can have a true informed opinion about it.
Yes, exactly.
So I thought this was just incredibly interesting.
Yes.
And I did really like, and don't get me wrong, there are male authors involved in writing the Nancy Drew series, but it really does mean a lot to me that a lot of the conception around this series is with women. And so, especially when we're writing Nancy at this time when there's so much political upheaval and changing gender roles and women getting the right to vote, like, within years of these things, like, it really does mean a lot to get this perspective from, and even, like, I don't want to portray that, like, because I don't know enough about these two women other than I think Mildred Wirt Benson is, like, the coolest person I've ever read about.
Seriously.
But, like, Harriet Stratemeyer Adams was also described as, like, not a traditional woman of the time period as well. So she, like, I don't want it to come across that, like, Mildred Wirt Benson was this amazing, like, badass woman doing all these cool things, and then Harriet Adams was, like, wrecking everything over here. Because I don't think that's true either.
No.
She seems like she was also a really, like, she kept all these really cool things about Nancy and still wrote her in this way that you and I, like, fell in love with the series.
Yes.
So I don't want to say that, like, you know, I don't know. I haven't read both sets of series. But they both seem like really cool women. And I do think, like, I understand where Harriet Adams was coming from. Like, Nancy Drew as a character, she was involved almost from the beginning. Maybe
Sure.
not like directly. Her father died within 3 years of Nancy Drew being published.
That's right.
4 years. And she took over his entire business. And so I can understand why she has this,
connection and like ownership.
Or feeling of ownership over Nancy as a character, because she really did do a whole lot of work on this series. Harriet Stratemeyer Adams wrote books 37 through 56 of the original series, and up until
the rewrites.
And the rewrites, yeah. So she was heavily involved. And that's what you end up seeing later in the like numbers 35 through 56. It's outlined by Harriet, or 37 through 56. There's a few where that's like there were some ghostwriters, but outlined by Harriet, written by Harriet, edited by Harriet.
Let's go.
So, like, I do think she was correct in countersuing.
Sure.
But I think that is why we now have all this information about who wrote which of these books from the original series, because it was relevant.
Because it had to come out.
To this lawsuit. It had to come out because we're trying to figure out who owns copyright of this character and who does this character belong to.
I was not expecting that to be relevant, like legally.
Yeah. Really cool stuff. Mildred Ward Benson passed away in 2002.
Oh, dang. That's much more recent than I would have expected.
Right? So she was born in 1905 and died in 2002. So she was almost 100 years old.
Holy crap.
Yeah, she was 97 when she passed away. So Harriet Stratemeyer Adams, 1892 to 1982. Only a few years after this court case, she passed away.
This is like much deeper than I thought it was going to be.
I spent the most time on this time period because after this, some of our information just becomes a little less, detailed. We had the Nancy Drew Mysteries, the original series of 34 books from 1930 to 1956. The numbers 35 through 56 still continue to come out from 1957 to 1979. So really, 1930 to 1979, we're seeing this original series of the first 56 books, but the first 34 came out twice because they were revised.
That is what I was wondering, because if Harriet had written the 35 onward, did she then rewrite 35 onward?
No. So 35 onward stayed the same. Only books 1 through 34. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That does make more sense.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. You're just rewriting your own books at this point. No.
You must imagine Sisyphus happy.
She did have her hands in almost the entire 1 through 56 books. So
I like when hands are in books.
Yeah, I like to put my hands in books. So Grosset and Dunlap versus Simon and Schuster.
I ship
battle
it.
match.
I ship Grosset and Simon. That's my ship of the week. And then Dunlap and Schuster.
Really? I was going to go with Grosset and Schuster and Dunlap and Simon.
Thank you.
That's our ships of the week. There we go.
I like that one. Thank you. Segment. All right, we call it a day.
Done?
Perfect.
Simon and Schuster took over the publishing of the books starting in 1979. 1980 was the court case. From 1979 to 1985, that's volumes 57 through 78. And at this point, I was like, okay, so that's like about the end of the original series, right? No.
I thought 56 was the end of the original series.
The original run of the Grosset and Dunlap series, but the Nancy Drew Mysteries continue into 175
Oh, right, because there's
volumes.
More. Oh, my God. But we hear all
I know.
Freaking.
So 57.
All day, but much longer than that.
Yeah, 57 through 78. This was when they started adding new writers. Harriet Stratemeyer Adams died in 1982. And so the Stratemeyer Syndicate was taken over by her 3 children, her 1 son and 2 daughters, and then 2 of her writing proteges. Took over the syndicate from 1978 to 1985. Volumes 57 to 78 are primarily, they're kind of like a new set of ghostwriters, but they're edited by her 2 proteges, and I might say their names wrong, and I'm sorry, which is Lilo Wen, spelled Wenn, and Nancy Axelrad were the 2 main editors at this point. All while the original series is going on, they start to, and I tried to do the books in order of the series. So the Nancy Drew Files came out from 1986 to 1997.
Yeah, that's the one that seemed very 80s. When you see the covers, you're like, okay.
Yes.
I know.
100%. They kind of age up the characters a little bit.
Yeah, my understanding was she was like either in college or like just post-college age.
Yeah, she's like, kind of in college. Things are a little bit like sexier.
That's
She
what
and
I thought as
Ned
well. I think I've read like
break
one or
up.
two, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, she and Ned break up and get back together multiple times. There's like a lot more relationship drama.
Was that
so
just like what was wanted from the audience?
They were trying, I guess, something new. And at this point, and I feel like I see this in so much media, the further away you get from those original authors, the more things just kind of change. And this
well,
is
the CW show has like actual ghosts, and the whole point of Nancy Drew is it's never a ghost. We pull off the mask, we Scooby-Doo it. Like Scooby-Doo does have a couple like, oh, this is the episode where there really are zombies on Zombie Island. Spoilers, but like,
well, that's a movie, so it doesn't.
It's a movie. It's not the episode, right? The episodes are always going to be. It's not really the spooky creature. It's always a person for a specific, like, understandable reason. And that's what I think about Nancy Drew. And then the CW show, which I feel like they wanted it to fit into like the Sabrina, the Teenage Witch-verse / Riverdale / whatever.
Riverdale, yeah.
Because Riverdale and Sabrina are always they were coming out together as Archie comics.
Yes, yeah, and they're
so they go together, but I don't
everything.
But I don't think Nancy Drew ever was.
No, definitely not.
So
I can tell you for a fact based on my notes. So Simon & Schuster, they're publishing the Nancy Drew Mysteries. They're publishing the Nancy Drew Files. And now, actually, a lot of the Nancy Drew Files are inspirations for the video games. So
yes, that's true.
Secrets Can Kill is the first Nancy Drew Files book. Which I would love to read.
Yeah, seriously.
Just to also compare it to the video game.
Seriously.
So that's happening in the 80s. Then they're publishing under one of the Simon & Schuster sub-publishing companies. They published number 79 through 159 from 1987 to 2001. Just a huge mix. And this is where we don't really know who the ghostwriters are. We don't really know who the outliners are. We don't
just churning them out. How are we supposed to keep track?
Oh, exactly. And it just hasn't been as relevant.
I assume not as strict of a contract either.
I don't think so, yeah. Because at this point, and then Simon & Schuster bought out the syndicate, completely in like the mid-'80s, late '80s.
Question, and you might not know the answer.
Yeah.
Was Edward Stratemeyer, was he like one of the first people doing ghost writing on a huge scale?
That's a good question, and I do not know.
Totally fair. Because it was so codified and it was so structured, I'm like, was this maybe kind of the first way, or is that, I've seen it done before and I'd like to do it better, so here's how I'm going to add specific rules and strictures into this? I don't know.
Yeah, that would definitely, now I want to know. So the Nancy Drew Mysteries really go in like these like spurts of
gross
after the 80s. No, I do this all the time.
The breeder set, the spurts, the hands in the books. We have to put a content warning on this. This is nasty.
Get them in there.
Disgusting.
So number 70, volume 79 through 159 is the 80s to early 2000s. And then they did like 15 more from 2001 to 2003 under their Aladdin books.
Well, is that like the bright yellow paperbacks that I was always getting at Barnes & Noble?
Yes, because they switched to paper. Yep, they switched to paperbacks because it was cheaper.
And then they had, rather than a cover, as like a cover model.
Yes.
And it was like eco-terrorism and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's kind of go. During the 80s and 90s, it feels like they're just kind of throwing all sorts of things at a board to see what will stick. What do modern readers want?
Let's make her sultry. Let's make her 100. That's not one of them.
Which there was 124 volumes of the Nancy Drew File.
God.
I know, from 1986 to 1997. Then there was Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys Super Mystery, which was 30 volumes.
Yeah.
From 1989 to 1998. Frank Hardy
I'm thinking
and
of the
Nancy
newer
Drew.
ones. There's some Aladdin.
There's some
Hardy
newer
Boys,
ones too, yes.
Nancy Drew.
So these are the ones from the 80s and the 90s.
Okay, great.
Then there's Nancy Drew on Campus from 1995
to 1998. It's different from the Files?
It is different from the Files. This one, she like breaks up with Ned in like book 2 and does not get back together with him.
Oh no!
I know. And there's also like apparently a lot of like continuity things and like
I've literally never heard of Nancy Drew on Campus.
Yeah, so
never in my
we'll
life.
have to check those out.
You said there's how many?
25.
So they didn't really like this series. This was not a hit.
No, this one was not popular. It was not well received. People didn't like the differences to Nancy. I think this is the series where they were like, she's missing things that she normally wouldn't. She's too distracted. Like, George is different. Ned is different. Everyone's like too
George
different.
Is straight in this one.
And then in the 90s, there's one of my favorite ones, which was the Nancy Drew notebooks.
Yes. reading one
And
of
that
those
was from
soon.
1994 to 2005, and there's 69 volumes
Nice.
of the Nancy Drew notebooks. And then there was also Nancy Drew Girl Detective. That was from 2004 to 2012. And then Nancy Drew and the Clue Crew from 2006 to 2014.
Is the ones I'm thinking about. I think those are the ones I was going and buying at Barnes & Noble as they were coming out, as I was in.
That is very likely. And this was another series where people didn't love the portrayal of Nancy.
No,
they were more modern, like
they are much more modern.
Things.
Like I said, there's eco-terrorism. There's like, because I remember there was like a poison tree frog that like the toxins were used in a lipstick or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, we use Botox. Like Botox is like a known thing, but whatever.
Of course, yeah. You don't want to get you can get poisoned with Botox.
What is Nancy Drew, Girl Detective? I'm going to see if that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to Google the...
Yep, Nancy Drew, Girl Detective.
Yep, that's exactly... Oh my gosh. And then like her eyes are on the front, and then like her nose and mouth are very small.
Yes, yep. There's a lot of like abstractness.
I had all of those. And then there's like the manga as well, which was very weird and bad.
And I didn't even go into the manga or graphic novels, honestly.
Oh, they're so bad, but I love them.
So along with the Nancy Drew Girl Detective, 2 years later, they published, within the same continuity, Nancy Drew and the Clue Crew, which is these versions of Nancy Drew characters as 8-year-olds, which you'll note is also the same concept of the Nancy Drew notebooks.
But it's like with the more modern.
Yes. So the Nancy Drew notebooks are more of like...
There's a Nancy Drew Vampire Slayer comic.
What?
Okay, I'm reading that just for me, even if you're not reading it. Holy crap.
There is so much Nancy Drew.
The Nancy Drew diaries are so bad. I read some of the Nancy Drew diaries, and she's just mean. Nancy Drew Diaries 2013 to current began in 2013 a reboot of the Nancy Drew Girl Detective series.
Oh my gosh.
It was created to move away from the trilogy format of Girl Detective because... like in the Girl Detective, they started doing individual mysteries, and there would like be a couple where like there's one called Lights Camera, and then the next book was Action, and it like continued the story, but it wasn't like you had to know. And then they were only doing trilogies, and I got so mad because I would get like book 1, and then the next time I went to Barnes & Noble, they had book 3, and I could never find book 2. And so I'm like, where am I supposed to get book 2 of this trilogy? Nancy Drew books are not supposed to be like this. And so I picked up the Nancy Drew Diaries from the public library, and like I opened it, and she's immediately so mean to Bess and George.
So if we were to read any books from these different series, I would want to kind of, maybe it would be in a Drew's Clues, but like, how is she the same? How is she different from the Nancy that we expect?
Because clearly we're not the only ones with these expectations. If there's even purists that say the ones we've been reading are not quite the Drew
aren't even
love.
right. If there's a better version of Nancy out there.
I want to read it right now. I'm going to hang up and read it, but that's not helpful.
I know. Now I'm desperate.
Right.
But so, yeah. Okay. So then there's also the Nancy Drew Diaries from 2013 to current. So there's pretty much always been a Nancy Drew book being published at some point.
I've read the most recent one, and I just got to wait a couple months, and there's another one.
Yep. And so it looks like they come out in like January of almost every year recently. So the next,
holy crap,
the next Nancy Drew Diary comes out in 2026.
Don't read it because she's mean.
Yeah. And actually that makes me want to read it more because I want to be able to, I want to know how mean, you know? I want to be able to have my own opinions about things. So I'll read them.
That's fair. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so there are hundreds, so many more Nancy Drew books than I expected. The Nancy Drew mysteries, I was like, oh, there's like, 50, maybe somewhere around 100, 175.
That's
like
crazy.
There are 47 Nancy Drew Girl Detectives. Nancy Drew and the Clue Crew, 40.
Lord.
There are 124 Nancy Drew files. There are 36 of the original Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys Super Mystery. There are 25 Nancy Drew on campus. There are 69 Nancy Drew notebooks. And this is not counting the graphic novel versions or the manga novel versions. So many.
Thank you for taking such detailed notes. Holy crap.
I don't have a lot to tell about the illustrators.
That's fine. I mean, I feel like the authors is more interesting. Like, the illustrations are huge, but I want
the
to know
illustrations
the drama and the
are
legal
huge.
battles.
And so, yeah. So I've got 3 illustrators to tell you about. Russell H. Tandy was the illustrator of Nancy Drew from 1930 to 1949. He himself was a fashion artist. So he
wants to draw the, like, beautiful gowns that she's wearing. Let's go.
Yep. But he had her originally, it's 1930, illustrated as a flat-foot flapper.
Oh,
and so
what does that mean?
I think that just means that she's wearing, like, flat shoes. but she's
Oh, okay. I
clever.
thought this is like she's not a good dancer. She's got
No,
that's not flat feet,
no.
that's left feet.
I took it to mean that she wasn't wearing heels.
I love that.
And so as styles changed, so did Nancy. She always got up-to-date wardrobes because she is a teen. And it was really, what are the teens wearing right now? And you can kind of see that change in the illustrations over time.
Yes.
So he did the inside sketches and the covers for the first 26, except for 11, but they're not sure who. It's a mystery on who did 11.
Why is it a mystery?
I don't know. We just don't know who illustrated it.
Crazy.
He also designed the original Nancy Drew silhouette, which I believe is
the classic.
The classic one, because they switched, but I think they switched
use it
back. Yeah, they use one that's similar because she's like standing with the but it is, I mean, definitely based on that. But I'm pretty sure he's the one like that you have on your bumper sticker on the car.
Yeah,
with,
where her legs fell off. Oops.
Yeah, I think about that every time I see your car, that her legs aren't actually connected.
Her legs are not attattached. Poor thing.
Just looks attached.
It looks attached because that's how stickers
work. The one where she's like bent over slightly with because
she's actively investigating, magnifying glass in hand.
And so in all of his illustrations, like Nancy is like very involved in the mystery. She's very expressive. She's like in the middle of the action. He also read each book and then illustrated it. So a lot of his are very accurate to what is actually happening. Because this is
the one that we were talking about where it doesn't make any sense at all, the illustration versus the thing, that would have been a later book and that would not have been him or a later rewriting.
Yep, and I'll tell you exactly who that is in a moment. It's not the next guy we're going to talk about. Great. Honestly, I don't have much about him. He was only the illustrator for 2 years. His name is Bill Gillies? I don't know. Gillies? Giles?
Sure.
Giles? I don't know. But he continued to...
Is he also a circus clown?
Yeah, maybe. His illustrations also reflected the changing styles, but we start to see Nancy less in the action. She's more observing, but she's always very intent. She's always listening. She's spying. And that's kind of, we see this change from her being like in the middle of things in the illustrations to her like next to like a keyhole listening and things like that.
Oh.
Then we get who I would say is one of the most famous, or at least the one that we would recognize the most, which is Rudy Nappi, R-U-D-Y, N-A-P-P-I. He was the illustrator from 1953 to 1979.
Oh, gosh.
So they re-added in the internal pictures, the ones that we love so much in our Picture Perfect.
Because for a while it was just like the cover and like maybe one
and that's
at the beginning.
They were dropped in they had internal illustrations originally, but they dropped them in 1937 because money. They returned in 1954. What I'm sad to report is that mostly uncredited artists did the pen and ink drawings. He did the covers.
Okay.
And then,
is that why they're just so differently stylized?
Yes.
Like we don't have a chicken wire rim on the front cover.
Mm-hmm. And so his wife read the books and told him what they were about, and then he would illustrate the cover based on that. That is exactly why. Password to Larkspur Lane. It's the most recent one that we recorded within this time. We see Nancy on the cover whispering with Mrs. Eldridge, and she's very obviously exposed while there is a man watching them converse, which is not what happened at all. It is very important that Nancy does not get seen and that no one notices that Mrs. Eldridge is talking to her. And so this is why. To answer that question,
he just chat GPT'd it and said he like, hey, I'm going to ask my wife and my wife's going to do all the hard work of reading it and I will draw one picture of what I think she thinks it's about.
Yep.
A little game of telephone.
And he's also the one who we start seeing the flip out hair that I love so much. And so I have more of a complicated reading now of looking at these covers, but they were so iconic as well. This is also where we see the change from Nancy being Titian-haired from blonde. Allegedly, this is not confirmed. It even says this on Wikipedia that it's allegedly. This was due to a print ink error that gave her that reddish tint to her hair, and they loved it so much they just decided it was canon.
Wait,
is
that's
that
so
true
fun?
Or not? Unsure.
I'm believing that it's true.
But it sounds like a good enough reason, and I'm going to go with it. That's my headcanon now. But one other criticism that we see about Rudy Nappi artwork is that we start to see Nancy looking less confident and more puzzled And then also, as the series progresses, you get more of these abstract, like Nancy's face. And then she's like thinking about clues that are floating around her. I'm thinking of, which like is the Sherlock. One. Yeah, yes. But there's the one, Hark a Vagrant made fun of it, where her face is inside the tree stump. This is what we're talking about, where we start to see it's just a little bit less concrete, a little less descriptive of what's happening. And we see that trend throughout. There are other illustrators, but honestly, those are the ones that we have the most detail about. And
that makes
after
sense.
that, we start to get into, like you were saying, like the very 80s and 90s covers where they're definitely illustrated, but they look photorealistic. And there's some handsome boy in the background. And then just the books are not the only part of the Nancy Drew universe, as we know. So they've been making Nancy Drew films. The first Nancy Drew film came out in 1938. Yep, the Nancy Drewies.
1938?
1938 was the first Nancy Drew movie.
But the first book was like
1930.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
They so turned that around.
Well, and if you remember, 1933, Macy's was 100% sold out of all their Nancy Drew books.
That's right.
This was a hugely popular thing. So there were 4 Nancy Drew movies made between 1938 and 1939.
Holy crap.
They have Nancy Drew ... detective. Nancy Drew ... reporter.
Hold on. First of all, why are all these dots? And second of all, she needs to hold down a job. Okay, continue.
1939, again, Nancy Drew ...
No!
troubleshooter.
Oh, I thought you were saying
1939, Nancy Drew and the Hidden Staircase.
Now, hold on. I found a pattern and you immediately broke it.
I know. They broke it.
Nancy Drew ... staircase.
So Nancy Drew ... staircase. The hidden is hidden.
Exactly. It's like a silent E. Wait, okay. Also, hold on. Also, why would we start doing our movies that we're naming after a book? Why do we start with book 2?
I know. Hilariously, I mean, it's maybe not hilarious, but then like the next Nancy Drew movie does not come out until 2007.
Because I remember that coming out. My mom and I went. So I was like, sure. Okay, when I found out about the 30s ones, I was like, okay. So now I know that they've been making these this whole time. No. They made 4 and called it a day. And then 2007.
They made 4 back to back to back to back.
Back to in the same 2-year span.
Yep.
And then
3 of them. Enough. 3 of them in 1939.
Holy crap. So I have seen
that
most
would be
if not all of them. Yeah, because I was talking about an old movie and it wasn't one I'd seen. So this is one of them.
I would love to do a special episode about this. It is also on YouTube because it is a movie from 1938.
Oh, so, yeah, let's go. It's 90 years old. We could just see that.
Yes.
Let's go.
And I would love to, I'd like to figure out, how are we portraying Nancy Drew?
Bad Driver. That's all I know.
Yeah. The woman who plays her is Bonita Granville.
Is she is in all 4?
Yes. She is the Nancy Drew in all 4 of them. The first one,
not
Nancy Drew.
It's not like the games where they had Lonnie Minnelli voice 31, and then we're like, all right, the next 2.
Just kidding. Yeah, no.
Else. And they also will be very bad.
Yep, they kept all the same. Instead of Ned Nickerson, it's Ted Nickerson.
I did notice that when we're watching. Like, why did we change that? What a weird thing to change. And I was thinking, how when you're reading a book and it's like, oh, we went to the Talmart because they felt like they couldn't get away with saying Walmart or whatever. I was like, surely that is not either
maybe I think
or
they
that
thought Nancy and Ned, just 2 N's. They're like, that's going to be too hard for people. We need to change it to a T. I don't know.
Are they both nicknames for Edward?
Yes, both of them are.
Mine Edward and then Ted Word.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Okay,
Tedward. That's weird. But the first Nancy Drew detective. Nancy Drew ... detective is loosely based on The Password to Larkspur Lane, the most recent book that you and I read.
Oh,
so I think that would be fun to watch at some point.
I think
in the near future.
Would. Yeah, I saw the 2007, and then there was a more recent one. Not that recent, but recent enough that my mom and I also saw that one.
Yeah, then there's Nancy Drew starring Emma Roberts in 2007, which was not well reviewed. I remember not enjoying it all that much, but I will watch it again for this.
I loved that her sleuth bag or whatever had fresh baked goods.
Oh, that's so Nancy.
It's so good, and I always have snacks in my bag, but they're not usually fresh. But that's okay because it's like Tootsie Rolls, so who cares?
I think it would be great to do like looking at the movies and then saying like maybe rating like what was the most Nancy Drew thing that this Nancy did and what was the most out of character thing that she did or said. Then there is the 2019 Nancy Drew and the Hidden Staircase. Again, the Hidden Staircase.
Well, it's, that's the only book there is, the second one.
Yeah.
Famously.
We just really love Helen, okay?
Yeah, and that's valid.
So that was
do remember
also
liking the more recent one, but also I think I just was like, oh, fun, it's Nancy Drew. I don't think I was like evaluating it. I was just like, hey, this is a great time.
I definitely did not see it. And all 6 Nancy Drew movies that came out from 1938 to 2019, mostly at the beginning, mostly at the beginning,
1939,
most of them in 1939, but they're all produced by Warner Brothers, which assumedly, based on this information, has the movie rights to Nancy Drew.
I would assume, and they just kind of did nothing with it for 100 years.
Yep. Yeah, they're like, I mean, they were really popular then, but let's try again. Nah, that didn't do it. Let's try it again.
Yeah, and that's enough.
So then the TV series, there were multiple TV series. There was 1977 to 1979, which was the Hardy Boys Nancy Drew Mysteries.
Oh.
There were 3 seasons of this.
Yes, I have seen a little bit of this, just like snippets.
Mm-hmm. There were 3 series. Only the first 2 feature Nancy Drew because her parts were not as well reviewed. They would alternate between the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, and the Nancy Drew ones weren't as well received, and so they just slowly wrote her out of the show.
What?
Yep.
When you say alternate, it'd be like one episode Hardy Boys, one episode Nancy Drew.
I think that's the impression that I got.
They're not like helping each other out because like there's a couple games where you switch back and forth. Like sometimes you are Joe/Frank Hardy and sometimes you are Nancy, and the way you switch is just call them, and then as you're on the phone, I guess your soul gets sucked to the phone, and now you're Joe Hardy or whatever. I don't actually know, but you do just switch by calling them on the phone.
That's hilarious.
It's great. What the heck? You can't write Nancy Drew out of the Hardy Boys Nancy Drew's Mysteries.
Interesting. Okay, though the Nancy Drew aspect of the show received mixed receptions, it is regarded as the most faithful adaptation of the character, with Martin often regarded by many fans as the best actress to portray her.
And we just axed her.
Yep.
I'm scandalized right now.
And they also had to recast the girl who played Nancy because first season alternated with the Hardy Boys. The second season, the format switched to present the Hardy Boys as the more prominent characters and Nancy Drew mostly as a character in crossover episodes.
Ugh.
Yeah, after the 13th episode, Martin left the series, citing the changes made to the character and show. They had to recast her for the final 4 appearances. Also, there was some controversy because the girl who played Nancy, her final appearance as Nancy aired on January 1st, 1978. And then in July of 1978, the actress appeared on the cover of Playboy magazine with the headline, TV's Nancy Drew Undraped.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Get that bank. That's so funny.
I'm also definitely interested in checking this out, or at least a portrayal, because if she's considered one of like...
I thought you meant the Playboy.
What?
Can we just do an episode on the Playboy?
Yeah, let's just do that. That sounds... Yeah. It says Nancy Drew on it. This is part of the Nancy Drew universe, okay?
Literally canon. No, okay.
Canon.
So wait, did she know? I don't know how long these contracts are with Playboy. Like, did they know that she had got this picture and they were like, we are recasting you?
I don't think so. So, okay, it says the ABC program alternated each week between the Nancy Drew Mysteries, which was its own series, and the Hardy Boy Mysteries. In season 2, the shows were merged and renamed the Hardy Boys / Nancy Drew Mysteries, which led to Nancy's role being reduced. This frustrated Martin, who left the series as a result. In the Playboy magazine, she said the merger of the 2 shows was her reason for quitting.
Gotcha.
I didn't say her name at all. Her name is Pamela Sue Martin.
Thank you. I was like, Martin probably is a last name. It's not my business. Maybe it's like Cher.
Yeah.
She just goes by Martin.
She just goes by Martin.
Male name.
Love it. Just like George.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and she loves her boy haircut.
Yep.
And don't ask any more questions.
So then in 1995, there was a TV series called just Nancy Drew. It was canceled midway through the first season for poor reviews.
Not a good enough title.
Nope. And then in 2002, they did a Nancy Drew movie again, but this was a TV movie, and it was just called Nancy Drew. It was intended as
have a better title. At least have a ...
Right? That's what sold the first ones.
Yes.
This one was intended as a pilot if it did well, and it didn't, so they canceled that.
Aw, sad.
And then that leads us to the 2019 Nancy Drew TV series on the CW. Which I've never checked out.
But they do diversify the characters, which is cool.
So I would definitely, again, be interested to check it out just to be able to see, what they do with our dearest darling is Nancy Drew. And then you're a little bit more of an expert on this part than I am. And this is video games. So there are 34 video games, but Ransom of the Seven Ships was discontinued in 2020, so you can't play it anymore.
Yeah, because it's racist.
Ah.
That's the one with blackface.
Oh, cool.
So it's okay that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Well, it was like, you'll never recognize me, a villain from a former game, because I am a different race now. No, you're not. Not how that works at all.
But I didn't realize there's also like 5 Nancy Drew DS games.
Yes, there's one on the Wii as well. And I know this because I was watching the Game Grumps play White Wolf of Icicle Creek, and they were playing one of the cooking minigames. And they were like, is it feminist that there's a lot of cooking and cleaning in this game? Which is very funny because that's the only game that has like that much cooking and cleaning. And that's the one that was available. But the cooking minigame just was different graphics, different food, different setup, presumably so that it worked on a Wii and not a point-and-click laptop or desktop. But I was like, how do you have a different version of this same title than me? What the heck?
No,
but presumably like the plot was the same, but just gameplay had to be different by design.
I think so. Yeah, because there's a Wii version and a Windows version.
Big version. No, just kidding. It's Wii and it's big. So there's 34 of the main PC games, but then there's 2, I think, of the dossiers, which are like 2D animation intentionally, not just because it's the past.
Yes.
And they're cute and they're quick. And there was supposed to be a third, and it was about a ship, and everyone was really excited about it. And then instead they made terrible number 33 and number 34.
And canceled the Ship of Shadows.
Oh, yeah.
There have been 2 mobile games.
Yeah, the horse one, Shadow Ranch.
Yep.
And Codes and Clues.
You got it.
Oh,
good.
Yeah.
See,
Shadow Ranch was really cute. Shadow Ranch was really cute. It was like half book, half game.
Aw, that's
so
cute.
Like it was like sort of reading the story to you, and then a little mini game would happen on your phone. It was like not very deep, but it was cute.
Aw.
I have not played Codes and Clues because it is for 7-year-olds.
Yeah, and that's what these seem like that they're geared for younger players. Then there are.
To be clear, I'm not against the games that are for 10-year-olds and all that. I already know how to code at a 7-year-old level, and I don't need this for that.
Yeah. There are 5 Nintendo DS games.
There's a Hardy Boys, at least one Hardy
Boys. Yes, there is.
One.
The Deadly Secret of Old, with an E, World Park. The Mystery of the Cluebender Society.
Oh.
Then The Hidden Staircase. We love The Hidden Staircase over in the Nancy Drew universe.
Best plot that's ever happened, apparently.
Apparently. Then The Hardy Boys, Treasure on the Tracks, and The Model Mysteries.
And
then there's also,
if you remember, like train models.
Like train models, I think.
Okay. Because it's for boys.
Other console games. The only one listed is a Leapfrog game. You remember Leapfrog?
Oh my God. What do you mean a Leapfrog game of Nancy Drew?
Mystery in the Hollywood Hills, made by Leapfrog. Oh, it's based on the Nancy Drew 2007 Nancy Drew movie with Emma Roberts.
Cute. Okay. Why is it on a Leapfrog? How do you do that? My understanding is
I don't know.
You have like a little book and then you tap little parts on it with the stylus included.
Maybe that's what it is. It's just
sound.
the book version of it.
That's crazy. I really want to get that, but there's no way that that's doable at any, maybe at all, but at any reasonable price. That's crazy. Gumshoe Game Show.
Okay, so I have a very quick Gumshoe game show for you.
Wait, I've never played one.
But this one won't be the same as yours.
Okay.
It's more bonus information that I didn't include. So I have a series of 4 questions for you. They're related to Nancy Drew. That's about it. Some of them are just like, I couldn't figure out exactly where to put this information in, and I wanted to include it anyway. So, Question 1. Which of these is not one of the originally proposed names for Nancy Drew by Edward Stratemeyer when...
Like the character herself?
Yes, like the name of the series is going to be. Is it Diana Dare, Bess Drew, Nan Nelson, or Helen Hale?
Oh, gosh. And I'm looking for the one that's not proposed. Okay.
And this isn't also all of them. Diana Dare, Bess Drew, Nan Nelson, or Helen Hale.
Gosh. And that's not even all the names. Those are just like 3.
No, those are 4. Yeah. 3 that are real and 1 that I made up.
Here's the thing. The fact that 3 of them have first names that ended up being characters is interesting. However, I feel very strongly that Diana Dare was initially one of the options. So I can't rule her out because, like, it's just too good a name.
It is a good name.
Wasn't there the Dare Girls or something? I guess you can't tell me.
It was that was the Dana Girls.
The Dana Girls. Okay. Bess Drew, Nan Nelson, or
Helen
was
Hale.
Helen Hale? I'm going to rule out Helen Hale. Yeah. Final answer, but I don't know. They're all very good names.
So you think Helen Hale is the fake one?
I think Helen Hale's the fake one.
You are incorrect.
Oh, gosh.
So the names that were proposed were Stella Strong.
Great.
Diana Drew. Diana Dare.
Okay.
Nan Nelson.
Great.
Nan Drew or Helen Hale. So Bess was the made up one.
Bess. Ooh, that's good. Because I was like, no one's just throwing Bess out there willy-nilly, but luckily she's in the story, so that has to be a real one.
Yep. So they chose Nan Drew and changed her name to Nancy. Lengthened her name to Nancy.
Is Nan short for Nanette usually?
I don't know. I've never met a Nan. I haven't either. It's like a nickname for Nana.
Yes, exactly.
So
interesting. Yeah. Okay, and a lot of those were alliterative.
Yes, they were. But actually, I noticed that as I was saying it. I was like, shoot, the one I gave was the non-alliterative one. And I meant to include Stella Strong.
Stella Strong is a very good name. That's a good name.
Okay.
That was good. That was hard. Okay. Obviously, because I didn't get it.
This is another one. Which one's not real? Sorry.
I love this. No, that's fine. I'm locked in. I got this.
So Nancy Drew has been published into all sorts of different languages. Her name is not frequently, but has been changed in different countries. Which of these is not real? A, in France, she is known as Alice Roy.
Oh.
In Finland, she is known as Paula Drew.
Oh, why Paula? Okay.
In Norway, she is known as Kitty Drew.
Oh, that's cute.
And in Germany, she is known as Suzanne Langen.
Why? Oh.
Which one is fake?
Well, this is not helpful because there's 2 that keep the last name and 2 that don't. So there's not an obvious. How dare you? You and your test-making strategies.
I know. Now I feel like you. Is this what you feel like all the time?
All the time. Kitty Drew feels like it's got to be a real one.
You are correct. Kitty Drew is correct.
Okay. Like it just feels.
I think I was really mean on this one.
I'm going
to. Here's my clue.
I was going to say, I don't think Alice Roy sounds French.
And then it doesn't sound French.
I don't think that one's real.
It is real.
But it doesn't sound French at all.
Here's them. All of them are real, but I changed one of the countries. So Norway, they do still call her Kitty Drew. But I don't know how to say it. The book series has the name Fröken Detective, which is Miss Detective. But she is still Nancy Drew. So the title is changed of what the series is called, but she is still known as Nancy Drew.
Oh, that's cute.
But yeah, she is known as Alice Roy in France.
That's not French. Why did we change it?
Sweden, she is known as Kitty Drew. Finland as Paula Drew.
Why
and in
Paula?
Norway, she is still Nancy, but
why Paula?
Fröken Detective.
I love Fröken Detective. She's my favorite Fröken Detective there is.
Yeah, mine too.
But different. All right, you got 1 more or 2 more?
2 more.
Okay.
So I know that we have, and you might already know this, so this might be a little bit of an easy one for you.
Great, because I suck at these. It's so much harder to answer them.
I know. How many total Nancy Drew books are there?
Gosh.
A,
over 600.
220.
No.
B, 420.
Nice. No.
C, 620.
Okay.
Or D, 720.
I do think it's 620.
You are exactly right. It is 620.
Yep. I'm so glad that it wasn't like 619, 620, 621 because I was never getting that.
No, that's why I tried to be a little nicer on that one. The other ones were mean.
Thank you.
So you currently have
1 right.
2 incorrect and 1 correct.
Yeah.
So this one is going to be for all the points.
Oh,
and
shoot. Okay.
It's going to be one that you can. Hopefully, it's going to have no choices.
Oh gosh. Hopefully that's good.
So after ghostwriting the Nancy Drew series, Mildred Wirt Benson published multiple series of her own. She has one series about a different girl, not a detective, a reporter this time. And she wrote that this character is a better Nancy Drew than Nancy is. And her favorite character that she wrote. This character also shares a name, an alliterative name, with a Marvel Spider-Verse character.
Is a girl?
It's a girl.
It's not. Is it Gwen Stacy?
No, it's alliterative.
Right. Okay. I was gonna say Lois Lane, but that's DC. Okay, hold on.
Mm-hmm. So
It's not Miles Morales.
It's not Miles Morales, but you are in the right film series.
Okay. There's a girl, and it's alliterative.
Did you see Into the Spider-Verse? Did you see?
I saw the first one. I thought Gwen Stacy was in that.
She is.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It's another little girl. That's another. Okay. It's a Peter Parker variant.
Is it the one that has the little bot, the spider bot?
Yes.
Oh God, what's her name? Is her last name Parker?
The last name is Parker. Yes.
Oh gosh,
you've already got half the points. So
I have that. Pietra. Hold on.
It is also the name of a coin that we no longer mint.
Penny Parker.
Penny Parker.
You gave me every hint in the world. That was very kind.
It still counts.
Thank you.
So
Penny
Mildred
Parker reporter.
The Penny Parker series is her favorite character that she wrote, and is a better Nancy Drew than Nancy is, which makes me want to read that one too.
Oh my gosh, same. Penny Parker, a better Nancy Drew than Nancy Drew. That's crazy. I can't. Oh my gosh. Thank you for feeding me that answer so slowly. Oh my gosh.
Well, and every time I try and search Penny Parker, it's like Penny Parker, Marvel, Penny Parker. There she is. She's so cute.
She's so cute. But also, and that's how you found out.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
17 books written by Mildred Benson and published from 1939 through 1947. She is a high school student turned sleuth who also sporadically works as a reporter for her father's newspaper, the Riverview Star.
It's not not River Heights.
Similar to Nancy Drew's, died some years before, so she was raised by the Parker housekeeper, Mrs. Weems.
Oh my gosh. Wait, okay, question. Did Mildred's mom die young? Or die when Mildred was young?
Good question.
Of just, hey, since now I know that's a theme, and now I know Nancy Drew is a diver.
Doesn't
because
say.
Of Mildred, probably. It feels relevant.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's so interesting. And she's a reporter like Mildred with her journalism degree. Oh, this is so cool. Thank you so much. I have loved this.
Thank you so much for listening. I learned a lot doing this research as well, and it makes me just love the Nancy Drew series and the Nancy Drew universe as a whole even more.
Same, which I didn't know was possible. Oh my gosh.
There are so many people involved in the creation of this character and the maintenance of this character, and it sounds like there's been some pretty massive missteps along the way, but
overall it seems very cool and almost wholesome at almost all times.
Yes. And obviously, like, there's some parts where they're trying to figure out how to, like, get people more invested in the character and what changes do they have to make. But I would argue that, like, we just love Nancy Drew because we love Nancy Drew. I don't think
when they made her all sultry or whatever, I don't think that was supposed to be like she was bad how she was. I think it was meant I'm assuming from a lens of, well, you know, that was kind of the old version, and kids today won't really vibe with that, but I still want to make Nancy Drew stories. I'm assuming. I guess I don't know that.
Yeah, but then, like, also think about our shared 5th grade student years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Who did a Nancy Drew peep diorama.
Oh, that was so fun.
You know,
was that also the Hidden Staircase? I think that was the Hidden Staircase as well.
Well, I'm sure.
That's the only one that's ever been adapted into any media.
It's the best one to adapt, okay? You can't go wrong, except you can. But
I forgot about the peep diorama.
Yeah, so we need to check also and make sure, like, when we look at all these different versions of the Hidden Staircase, are we including Helen? Because if we're not including Helen, that might be the problem.
That's such a good point. And we even almost named Nancy Helen.
I know.
That's how important Helen is.
We loved the name Helen so much, it was almost Nancy's name. So,
you're
thank
right.
you.
You had a better concluding line, and I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I just repeated what you said.
Oh, gosh. No.
Being a man over here, taking
other
people's ideas and stating them louder.
No, that's perfect.
And again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on our Nancy Drew history lesson. If you enjoyed this type of episode that kind of breaks from our usual format, let us know. You can go to our website, meandyouandnancydrew.com. We'll have a link that you can send us feedback. You can also send us an email at meyounnancydrew@gmail.com. No and in that one. No ands in that.
I was going to say no and also no and.
No and no and. Just
helpful.
NancyDrew@gmail.com. Yeah, because we just love to talk about Nancy Drew, and
it's true.
We'd love to
And you've made me so interested in all the different formats, which I knew about, but I wasn't like that invested in. I'm like, well, now I want to know.
Exactly. I know. Like after this,
all the thousands of movies made in 1939 alone.
We'll have a movie day and we'll watch all of them.
Similar to when they made it, where they all made it at once.
They made it all in one day.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you for being such a good audience member and asking so many questions.
Sorry that some of them were silly or things you hadn't researched.
That's okay. There's only so much I can research. And there's also only, so much research accessible to me.
Right
now.
That's true.
Even though I was like, I could buy this book about Edward Stratemeyer and the Stratemeyer Syndicate history.
It's just fascinating.
For $45 on Amazon?
No, not worth it. Unless we get lots of new Patreon supporters at patreon.com/NancyDrew. Did you hear how smooth that was? That was slick.
That was
real slick. Thank you. I'm just glad you heard them say the name Stratemeyer because, from the spelling, I would never have added that middle syllable. It would have been Straightmeyer all the way down, and I would have been wrongo.
And, I'm still, which I'll maybe we can post them also on our Patreon, but there are some YouTube videos from Mildred Wirt Benson doing an interview, like just not like a full interview, but talking to Mildred Wirt Benson about her. This was in like 2006, I think it was published, and she passed away in 2002, or at least it was published on YouTube. It's like 19 years ago, this YouTube video. I was like, oh my gosh, we're at that point now where YouTube videos are 19 years old, not what they are posting about. But there's also a really cool little like news snippet of Harriet Stratemeyer Adams celebrating the 50th anniversary of Nancy Drew, and
which they almost didn't do anything for.
No, they did. They like in a little sports car, in these beautiful furs, and a roadster cake of Nancy's blue convertible. So I will send those to you, Colleen, and we can also post those links maybe on the Patreon because they're also just like really sweet. These two elderly ladies that really were so, and that's really, I think, what I would want people to take away from this is just how cool both Harriet Stratemeyer Adams and Mildred Wirt Benson were and how important they were into shaping, Nancy Drew as a character and series for us. So thanks, ladies.
Thanks, ladies. That's awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us on Me and You and Nancy Drew.
This podcast is lovingly dedicated to the memory of my wonderful mother, Char, world's best mom, and the woman who got me hooked on sassy female detective stories. I also want to thank my brother, Ben, for creating most of our sound and music cues for this podcast. Thanks, Ben.
You can check out our website, meandyouandnancydrew.com, for show transcripts, links to our social media, and our Patreon, where we'll post any images that we described during the podcast. Those will be visible to anyone without a paywall, so that we're not describing nebulous images that you can't see at home. But if you'd like to become a patron, there are various perks there, including outtakes or things that got cut for time, stickers, and cross-stitch patterns to create your own Drewseum at home, and more.
Thank you, Megan, for editing the podcast, doing a lot of research about podcast creation, and adding a few additional sound cues as needed.
Thank you, Colleen, for also editing the podcast, for transcribing it, and for helping create our logo.
Thank you to our partners for all the support and love, and especially for lending us their microphones that they bought for a completely different purpose, but said we could borrow once in a while.
Thank you to libraries everywhere for giving access to Nancy Drew books and all the other books that we mentioned today, and just media of all kinds to people everywhere for free.
And finally, thank you, of course, to Carolyn Keene for independently writing each of the Nancy Drew books from 1930 to modern day. We couldn't do this without you and your 613 individual novels.